Hey guys, so welcome to my second video. My channel name is WillsAddiction and it's the same as my Instagram tag. So for my second video, I was basically thinking about it all day and I thought, hey, I'm a photographer, what better to do my second video on than basically the camera that I use as my daily driver every day. So the camera that I prefer and the camera that I use the most is the Fujifilm X-T30. That's the Fujifilm X-T30. And I don't know why I did that, but hey. So the Fujifilm X-T30. It's my daily driver now, and basically I'm gonna give you guys a review on how I feel about it and the pros and cons and whether or not I think you should buy this camera. All right. So I'm gonna start with the pros, and then towards the end of the video, I'm gonna move on with the cons because I do have some things that I don't particularly love about the camera. All right, so my first pro is portability. For such a small camera, like guys, this camera is really small, like super small. For such a small camera, it basically has all the features that you will ever need in a camera. It like low light, regular, like walking in the day, or like shooting with. I've done studio shoots. I've walked around and done street. Like I've done indoor stuff, and this camera basically does absolutely everything that it is that a photographer would need from a camera. So, yeah. So my first my first pro is that basically has all the features of that a photographer would need for a camera. Now moving on, the X-T30 has an analog style. So basically, when I say analog style, is that it really reminds you of a film camera. So when I say that, basically, if you look in the top mode dial, basically, it everything is tactile. Like you can move your switches and whatnot. So you have your exposure comp, your shutter speed, your ISO. Everything is in the top. So it really does remind you of like the older film cameras and the Nikon F3 and Canon A1 and things of that sort. Alright, and my last pro for portability is that it's built like a tank. This thing is built out of metal. This thing is built to last. Like if you drop it, like of course don't drop your camera, but if you were to drop it, like if I were to drop it, I feel pretty comfortable that this camera is going to survive. So that's always a plus. Alright, so that was portability, which is my first pro. My second pro is image quality. So the X-T30 has Fuji's awesome colors. So Fuji has a ton of film simulations that basically you can put on your JPEGs, and those film simulations are awesome. Some of the film simulations are basically like baked, like give you baked in colors, but others are muted, like Eterna, which is the one that I tend to use the most. The film simulation is called Eterna because basically Eterna will give you like a muted picture, and from there you can go on and tinker and do whatever it is that you want to do with the picture to get it the way that you want it, which for a photographer is exactly what you want, especially nowadays with Instagram and all that stuff, and you having to have your work done like this. You need a tool that will allow you to edit quickly and give product to a client as quickly as possible. So for that, I give kudos to Fuji, and I really want them to know that I really enjoy the colors. Okay, so the Fujifilm X-T30 has a 24 megapixel sensor, which is more than enough of what people need, and you can do awesome prints with this that are gonna look great and that people will enjoy. And so basically, you could use this for jobs. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. Also, when it comes to image quality, the Fujifilm X-T30 focuses really well. Like, you don't have to think about focusing when you're using this camera. Like this camera, the focus is very snappy and it'll do what you want it and what you expect it to do. So when it comes to a camera, like that's all you really want. All right, so my first two pros were portability and image quality. So I'm moving to the last pro before I start going into my cons. So my last pro is the fun. So before the Fujifilm X-T30, I was basically using a Sony a7 III. Now, is the Sony a7 III really a camera? Absolutely, it's an awesome camera. You can do so many things with it, and it's a full frame camera that allows you to manipulate your picture as much as you want. But is it fun? That's the question. and the answer to that question is it's not the fun that I thought it would be. When you shoot Fujifilm, basically the fun is that it's like it'll work as a day-to-day camera. So when you have a Fuji camera, like it's especially with like the newer ones like the Fujifilm X-T, like the X-T30, you can have a lot of fun with it because you already have an expectation of how your pictures are gonna come out when you're taking them. When as opposed to when I'm using like other cameras, and I guess like the closest camera to the Fuji with like colors and whatnot, and the fun factor I would say is Canon, but Canon is a lot more expensive than Fuji. But yeah, so like basically like when you have a Sony, like you have to take your pictures and then you gotta run into Lightroom and edit your pictures and then get your tones just right. But when I'm using my Fuji, I feel as though like I feel as though that I basically get a really good JPEG that I know that it'll work really awesome, and that I just got to do a few minor tweaks, and that I'll get to where I want to go from there. So that's what's fun about it. Another thing that's fun about this camera is that it's durable. Like I said before, this thing is made out of metal. This thing is built to last. Like I took this camera to Chinese New Year this year in NYC, and I mean, it was torrential rain. It was raining really hard. And did this camera have a hiccup? Did this camera fail on me? Absolutely not, because it's built really well. So even though it's not weather sealed and whatnot, this camera will do you well and do you justice when you're outside in the elements. So that just adds to the fun factor. And the last thing is like the lenses are just beautifully built. Like look at this lens. Like a lot of cameras that you'll tend to buy nowadays from camera companies, they'll have lenses that aren't made with this quality, that are not made out of metal. Like you'll have lenses that are plasticky, that are flimsy, and if you want like the good like metal quality lens, then you're gonna have to spend a lot of money on it. And the thing about Fuji is that your lens choices are numerous, and it's not gonna be as expensive as you think. Alright, so now I'm gonna go into my cons. So this is the second part of the video. Alright, so, and a lot of my cons have to do with basic. Alright, so the Fujifilm X-T30 basically costs around like $900 for the body. So my cons have to do basically with the quality of things, because let's be real, like they had to cut prices in certain places. So my first con is gonna be the buttons. Oh my gosh, these buttons can be so flimsy, and they can jam, and they can be very frustrating. Like I'll give you guys something that happened with me. So basically my playback button wasn't working. So my playback button is right here, but so basically like out of nowhere my playback button just started jamming. And like I would try to press it and nothing would happen, but then oddly enough, like after about a week or so, like my playback button started working again. But that's the point I'm trying to make here is that basically if you're spending $800, $900 plus on a camera, your button should be a little bit more solid. But I feel like that's more like a thing that Fuji does. Like, guys, let's work on our buttons. Alright, so, and my second big negative when it comes to the Fuji X-T30, which is an awesome camera, is the fact that it does not have a dual card slot. So let me see if I can open this. There we go. No. Alright, so your card slot, I don't know if you can see it. It is, let me see if I can go down here. Yeah. Right there. Alright, and you see it's a single. Okay. So if you do a lot of the things that I tend to do, which is basically do a lot of individual, like one-on-one, like personal shoots, or do a lot of street photography, things like that, then one dual card slot is not going to be a big issue. Because, you know, if your memory card tends to fail, if your memory card fails, then it fails. But now, let's say you do wedding shoots. Let's say you do baptisms. Let's say you do engagement pictures, engagement photos, things like that. Like, these are events that you'll only be doing once, that like the people that you're shooting with will only be doing once in their lifetime. God forbid, if your memory card fails, then you are screwed. You don't have a backup, you only have one memory card. So for this reason, this is a big con, but again, I tend to understand it because this is a budget camera, so to say, but it has all of the features that a pro photographer would want. But yeah, the lack of no dual card slots is a major negative, and I don't think that's something that's going to be changed because, you know, again, it's a budget. But yeah, so my 3 pros and 2 cons for the Fujifilm X-T30 goes as following. So the portability, like, this thing is super portable. Like, you can take this thing everywhere. You can do so much with it. The image quality is awesome. You can do so many things with it, and trust me, you cannot go wrong with the X-T30. And the fun factor, super fun. You're gonna have a lot of fun using this camera because this camera allows you to do a lot of things that to basically be fast while you're doing them, which is something that not all cameras afford to you. Alright, so, and then I have 2 negatives. So my first negative is the buttons are cheap. And I give you guys an example. So yeah, just be careful with the buttons if you get this camera. And the lack of dual card slots, which is my second negative, but you know, that's understandable. But yeah, dual card slots, super important if you're moving, if you do those sort of things. Like, if you do things like weddings and whatnot, then yeah, you should definitely have a backup to the things that you do, because what happens if you ever, God forbid, were to lose that one memory card slot that you have. Alright, so that's basically my review of the Fujifilm X-T30. Don't forget to follow my channel, WillsAddiction. This is my second video. I hope it was better than the first. I feel like it was better, I hope. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram. It's the same thing as my YouTube channel, WillsAddiction. Alright, so expect more videos from me. I'm gonna try my best to post twice or once a week. So keep a lookout for my videos. Alright, so this is WillsAddiction signing out. Thank you guys.